This is the Get Real Podcast with your host, Morgan Charlie. We're going to talk about all the things, business, parenting, and all the other things that I'm barely surviving. On this podcast, we're going to pick the brains of professionals, hear some inspirational stories, get advice from friends. We're going to learn from one another so that we can live better, so that we can do better. And I have to say, I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
Hey, everybody. It is Tuesday, which means it is Pour It Out Tuesday with our friend Morgan Charlie, who is here in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios, where you will find sweet tea charm with
tequila strength personality.
There you
as
go.
We pour it out on a Tuesday.
One day we're going to have that down.
One day.
Perfect for you guys.
Yeah.
Morgan, how is your week going?
I feel like it's been a whole week. And it's only
Tuesday. I know.
Mm-hmm.
It is Tuesday. That's what I was listening to. I called in on Clay's show this morning and was
I heard. I was listening this morning.
Were you?
Uh-huh. I was.
Yeah, I called in and I was thinking then when he was doing his opening, I was like, how is it only Tuesday? It really does feel like it has been a full week.
And I always literally on Wednesdays, I wake up and I feel like Wednesday would be a good midweek weekend. I just need a Wednesday and then we can get back to it.
We should,
work Monday, Tuesday, take off Wednesday, work Thursday, Friday or something.
I think that works.
Half a day Friday because nobody wants, I don't know what the answer is.
I think that sounds great. Let's just, I should pass a bill.
Right.
Let's start working on the language.
This is the new standard working.
We're all my legislator friends out there. So this is my idea. We're going to just forget Wednesday.
Yep.
It's going to be a second day of rest.
That's right.
And then Fridays at
It is
lunch.
a church day.
So that works. It makes sense, right?
I think so.
I think it's good because it's the day that the teachers don't give homework for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have a good idea here, Morgan.
Wait,
I think
your kids don't get homework on Wednesdays?
It's optional. Of course, sometimes we don't do the mandatory homework, much less the optional.
I have been drowning. And I know we talked about this where I was going to put Knight in charge of the first graders' homework, but it's too much. It's reading, which takes forever, and then another whole homework sheet. And I'm about fit to be tied with that part. But anyways, I feel like we have it even on Wednesday, so we get no break.
Yeah. I don't think it's so funny. I told my twins on the way to school this morning, they were in the car, and I said, look, you're going to have to just tell your teacher that Mama was busy and you'll turn in Monday's homework on Wednesday because you'll turn in Mondays and Tuesdays because I didn't have any time yesterday. By the time I got the littles home, it was time to go sit in car rider line for my middle school and then high school daughter. Then I had to get my high school daughter to work. And then I had a GOP fundraiser that I had to be at in Flowood at 6. We had a congresswoman from Florida here who spoke, and I was there until by the time I get home, it's past bedtime, and they're too tired to focus on homework. I'm not going to wake them up to do homework. And when it's more of a hassle for me than it is for them,
that's the problem for me.
That's the problem. It's like, come on now.
And I felt so bad because I didn't realize that this was happening. And I guess it's been a minute since I've had a first grader, and maybe this is just a first grade thing, but my other kids, when they get their homework, it's due at the end of the week. So they can work on it at their own pace, whatever night we're actually home and can deal with it or whatever. But for Smith, if he doesn't turn in his homework, then he has to miss recess that day to do it. And I just felt so bad because I didn't realize that was happening.
I hope that's not what they're doing because they'll be missing recess today.
I just found that out last week because I was like, oh no, Smith, we forgot to do your homework yesterday. And he said, I did it. I had to do it at recess yesterday. And I was like,
I just think that's so unfair.
It was my fault.
Right. That's what I told
especially when they're that age.
I told the twins that this morning. I said, just tell your teacher it's Mama's fault.
Right.
And, they are in second grade, and this is the first time they've had nightly homework. Before kindergarten and first grade, it was like you were saying, end of the week. And so, of course, my kids, they're like me. They're going to procrastinate and wait until Thursday night to do it all, which I've always been that way. And I think actually I work better under pressure. I really do. I think I work better under pressure. If I don't know that I've got to do it.
Well, if it's not due yet,
exactly.
Then we have other things that we can do.
Right. There are other things going on.
It's
but I hate it. Like I was telling you and like we've talked about on here, with the fundraisers, when they make the kids miss out on the prizes or the fun days, I think that's just completely and totally unfair, because it's me that doesn't have the time or the care, really, the drive to go take them around to sell raffle tickets.
And I think that at some point, I'm certainly not letting my kids off the hook, because at some point, at a certain age, it does become their responsibility. And like my older ones, their homework, if they're not doing their homework, that's on them. If they need help, it's on them to come ask me for the help. But the little one, that's all me.
I also feel like, though, by the time they get to that point, they have extra time in class, or they have study hall, or they have different times that they can get it done. I know for my middle school daughter, her teachers, if they have projects or something, they're going to make sure she has the class period and time to do it. Now, she's not going to get it done because that's just how she is. She is going to somehow find a way to turn it in late and get points reducted. But still, at least it's not on me, and I'm having to find the time to make sure 3 little ones have homework done, and then trying to get them to be able to do it at the same time in the same room. And then one gets done first and they want to turn on the TV. And
I know
it's
having school at home.
Complete and total chaos. Complete and total chaos.
For sure.
Well, Morgan, we always talk about kids being mean and bullying. And, I'm going to tell you something. Adults are mean too.
They are. Where do you think the kids learn it from?
Goodness gracious, adults are mean. I told Sean, I was talking to him right before I left the house, and I said, I think I'm going to have to go on a social media break for a minute. The hate, it's just so much of it. It's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting.
It really is. Well, I mean, obviously the Charlie Kirk stuff, we saw all of that, but what I've been wanting to hear your thoughts on. I know you're itching to talk about it. I know you're itching to talk about it.
Well, so yesterday there was a press conference.
There you go. I knew it. I was waiting. I was like, I can't believe she is making. How long have we been going?
I haven't said anything.
She made it more than 5 minutes. Like, no way.
I was trying to be respectful. I know that, that politics is not really your everything.
But this technically, I know we like to say it's political. I mean, and I guess certain political, sides have their beliefs, and they just kind of align with each other. But this is health care. So
that's true. And that's your area. So there was a press conference yesterday, in case nobody knows that. I think if anybody listens to me at all, they've probably already heard me screaming it from the rooftops. But I was fully expecting this press conference to speak only to Tylenol, acetaminophen, which somebody please tell President Trump how to pronounce that.
I know.
I feel so bad for him.
And we all have our strong points.
It is a hard word, I guess. It's a hard word if you don't see it or say it very often.
For sure.
I mean, for people that have worked in the medical field,
Let's just leave it at Tylenol.
Yeah, we can just call it Tylenol.
It's easier.
But, he went into a whole lot more than just the Tylenol aspect. He talked about vaccines, which I didn't. I knew, I was hoping and praying that would come. I didn't expect it to be yesterday, and so I'm in car rider line and waiting on this press conference to start. I'm like, how long? Come on, they were supposed to have started already. And then he starts talking, and my jaw hit the floor. I almost had to pull over. My daughters were like, what is wrong with you? I was like, this is not at all what I was expecting. And I never thought, Morgan, I would hear someone in government, especially the president of the United States, be so unapologetic and so unafraid of what someone might say or who might get angry with him, that he got up there and told the truth. He got up there and said, hey, we are in the middle of an epidemic. There were 1 in 20,000 who had autism, and now in some areas such as California, it's 1 in 12. 1 in 12. Something is going on here, and I'm determined to get to the root cause of it and find a way to stop this and make it better. And he talked about, dividing up the shots, like MMR, mumps, measles, rubella, it's combined. And then you also give that shot with others. And so you're giving a baby with this brand new immune system so much at once, and their poor little bodies are just overloaded. And so he made recommendations that we stop doing that. We stop giving these combined shots. He made recommendations that we hold off on Hep B, which I completely agree with. There's no reason to give it on day one of life until, they are much older. And he said, we're going to continue to study this and find the link, because there are too many parents who say, I went to a well baby visit and my child was changed forever. And they can't all be lying. And we've got to stop gaslighting and not believing these parents. There's got to be something there. And that just makes me so emotional, because
you're validated.
I mean,
you
feel validated. Finally, you feel like somebody is listening and somebody is paying attention. But my goodness, the hate has come out today. I mean,
well, and I think that, and I've been kind of wanting to, because I knew that you've been pushing and all that, talking about vaccines for a long time, but you and I have never really talked about vaccines. So I was interested, because I didn't go on a deep dive. I wanted to have a conversation with you about it. But what do you feel like is the solution? Are you 100% anti-vaccines, or are you more of like, no, there's a place for them and a time for them? What are your
so my youngest is not vaccinated at all, and he has been a million times healthier, a million times smarter. He started speaking earlier. He started reading much earlier. I mean, he just started kindergarten. He's teaching himself Italian, and I don't even know how he's doing that. It's a phenomenon. It's insane. But the varicella, which is chicken pox, I do plan to give him before he reaches puberty, because if you contract chicken pox as an adult or after puberty, it can cause you to become sterile. And I don't want that. And so I do think that there is a time and a place. I don't think it's as soon as babies are born. And I don't think we should be overloading them with numerous vaccines at one time. I don't think they need 72 by the time they turn 18. I do think we should look at ways to remove the aluminum and the mercury and the thimerosal and the things that we know can cause problems in babies. And I don't understand for the life of me why anyone has a problem with that. Like, let's make them safer.
Right. And I agree with that. Because I mean, we stopped using thermometers with mercury because it's like, but we're gonna put them in injections, and I know it has been removed from several of them, but there are still some that why do we only remove it from some of them? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. But okay, so the chicken pox you plan to give your little?
Yes, I plan to give my youngest, who has not been vaccinated, I do plan to give him that before he reaches puberty. Now, the amount of aluminum, and we see this, women see this all the time, the aluminum-free deodorant. It's all the aluminum-free makeup and hair product. We want to make sure that we are not doing anything to harm ourselves. And we're starting to buy products that are aluminum-free. Well, if you look at the amount of aluminum that they give a baby in one well baby visit, when they give the amount of shots the CDC recommends, it is quadruple the threshold amount that the FDA says is safe for a human, an adult human. Why?
Yeah, why is it in there?
It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Why can't we find another I can't ever say that word. Adjunct. I can't say it. I always mess it up. Adjunct. You know what word I mean.
And now I'm like questioning myself. Now I'm like, I can't even say it now. After that,
after that,
I'm like, every time. I'm supposed to.
I just change it to additive.
Adjunct. An adjunct?
Yeah. Well, they're the things that they put in there that become like the glue to hold it together. Okay. But those are the things that are not safe.
Right.
Now, obviously, I'm not anti all vaccines or all science, because we know smallpox was eradicated. But if you look at some of these diseases we have vaccines for, like the measles, it was well on its way to being obsolete and eradicated prior to the vaccine being introduced in the United States. So you look back at some of these things and it just makes you wonder, well, who has something to gain here? Well, it's big pharmaceutical companies. And then with the Act of 1986, which took away any and all liability from pharmaceutical companies,
They can put whatever they
They
want.
can do
on.
whatever they want, and they cannot be held liable. That's so dangerous.
It is. I agree with that.
So I think a lot of pediatricians aren't aware of the side effects, the ingredients. They've just been taught it's safe and effective, and we need to push it. And I just don't think that that's always the case.
Yeah. And for a long time, I was just do as you're told kind of girl. It's like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do. And I mean, all my kids are vaccinated, and didn't think a second about it. Like this is what they say we're supposed to do. This is where we're going to go. We're going to go get these shots, whatever. But I would advocate for spreading out the vaccines. Personally, I think vaccines are not all bad. Like, obviously, like we've talked about, the formulas need to be redone. You can't have a vaccine without certain preservatives, obviously.
Right.
So there's going to have to be a give and take on some things, but maybe not aluminum. But I'm just saying,
right?
There's
Can't we find one that's safer?
Yeah, they're like we're like, oh, anti-preservatives in our food and this kind of thing. But obviously, you have to have something in these vaccines, or we're going to have a bigger, bad, worse situation here. But I think finding safer formulas for it. And if they haven't been, if the recipe hasn't been adjusted in decades with the knowledge and everything else that's out there, it's like, well, why? Like, why? Because, I mean, they're making money on these vaccines. So use some of the funds, like rework your recipe here a little bit to catch up with the times and the changes. But I do think, and I was even looking at the Hib vaccine and what was it? The Tdap. At one point, they made one that was all of those together, but those literally could not be given together. But now they're like, oh, we'll just stick one in this leg and stick one in that leg. I don't see how somebody came to that conclusion.
Right.
So I'm with you on, breaking them up, doing them slower. But I think there is a place for them. I think some illnesses and diseases have been eradicated, and I would fear seeing some of those come back. But, and mainly, and I know like Trump alluded to the Amish, I think, in his speech, didn't he? Or something about how there's like zero autism and they're unvaccinated, but they're also not exposed either. So we do have to think about some of those aspects too. Like I see where it's like, look at this, but it's like, but those people, like that subset of community, they're not in these high populated. I mean, look at the schools our kids go to, and kids are germy. Yeah. And they're going to pick up things, so we do have to but I do think there's definitely room for a reconfiguration here.
Absolutely. We got to take a break. We ran over, but y'all stay with us. We will continue this discussion on the other side of the break right here on WIB 103.9, The Lindsey Beckham Show with Morgan Charlie.
Okay, so here's the deal. This podcast, it's for all of us. It's for all of us to learn from one another. So I want to know, what do you want to know? What topics do you want to hear? What guests would you like to hear from? What do you want to learn next? Head over to morgancharlie.com and drop me a line. Fill out the little form. And I promise I'll do my best to cover that topic or find that person that can. And remember, you can catch us here every week. Be sure to hit the little subscribe button so you never miss a beat.
We were just jabbing, and that break went by super, super fast. But we've been talking about the vaccine issue and President Trump's recommendations about spreading these shots out, not combining so many into one. And Morgan, obviously, she just finished nurse practitioner school, so she is in the medical field, the medical world, and so it's kind of, I love to have these different conversations where there are two different opinions,
right?
And not that we disagree, because honestly, I think
really there's a
don't.
Common ground, and I think there's a common ground like across the board if people will listen, and really listen to one another and be like, oh, okay, well, while I'm enraged at somebody, I'm not hearing what they're really saying, Right. It's like, so if everybody calm down, like let's have a conversation.
And that's what I was telling her during the break. I've been trying to explain to people on Facebook, like the science. Everybody wants to trust the science. So I try to go into these technical scientific things that show how this can happen. And so, Morgan, you had an easier way of putting that.
Well, we were talking about the acetaminophen and how it is now they're looking at it correlating to autism. And pretty much, so Lindsey was going through the glutathione and how so that is a detox, that's going to help detox. Well, for
your body
out here, right? Yeah, your body naturally makes it. So that's your body's natural way to rid itself of toxins, one of the ways. But the main organ that does that is your liver.
Right.
Well, it's no secret that acetaminophen is hard on the liver. So if you're,
and that's because it depletes the glutathione, which I know that gets real technical, but
right, it does. But at the end of the day, your liver can't filter out everything all at one time. So I can see overloading your liver with acetaminophen that's going through the liver, and then your liver's also trying to, filter itself naturally of the other toxins. I can see how that,
which causes so much inflammation on the inside of the body that we can't see from the outside of the body.
Yeah,
but I think also our genetic makeup has a lot to do with it. So I think people think, okay, well, they're saying Tylenol causes autism. Well, not necessarily in everyone. That's not what anybody's saying.
And it's a combination of, it's multifactorial, just like anything else. Right. And it might be that, okay, let's do the studies. Like, let's look into it. Let's really get down to the science of it and figure it out. It might be that some sort of a supplementation might need to be taken to help, because I know with
MTHFR.
Yeah.
I mean, let's find
I always get the
out.
letters backwards. So,
I know. Well, if you write it out, it looks like what it looks like.
I know. That's what I normally call it. So I was like,
the mother effort gene.
That's the one. So I was like, I'm going to let Lindsey give the letters out here.
MTHFR.
There we go. But it's part of that whole mutation is an inability to process folic acid. You have to have folate instead. So it might be that there's something folate related that needs to happen. You know?
That you can do prior to your vaccine appointment.
Something like that. I don't know.
Why can't we do that?
Right. But let's find out. Because that would be an easy fix.
Why is everyone so against that? Why can't, before we vaccinate children, let's test it. First of all, let's see if they have the MTHFR gene. Right. Some kids actually have they're double positive.
I heard you say that earlier when you called into Clay's show. So what does that mean?
It means that they're even more likely, or they have even harder time.
Okay, so there's
detoxing.
Gotcha.
Yes. So let's find out if they have that gene in their genetic makeup, because like I was saying to you, I mean, I have twins. I have 2 babies.
Right.
They went to the same appointments. They got the same shots. Now, Creed actually did get a few extra to catch him up because he had open heart surgery.
He had more at one time.
But Lori was unscathed.
Right.
It didn't it was a single problem.
That's why I said I would advocate for a different schedule, a more stretched out schedule, because we were talking about this off air, but just like if you have been tuning in, Lindsey's been coming to see us at the clinic. I'm not divulging her personal information.
You can't.
I was going to say, we've talked about it.
It's nothing that I haven't said on there.
But I, treated her hypertension, her blood pressure. And I feel like taking out one obstacle in your healthcare, that your body was fighting, allowed for us to get the results that we were trying to get easier.
Well, it was multiple. It was like my vitamin D level was bottomed out. My blood pressure was sky high. My heart rate's too high. And I was gaining weight at rapid level. I mean, just faster than I had ever
because your
done
body
before.
Cannot win. It's just like a war. Like wars are lost fighting too many fronts.
So my heart's overworking. My vitamin D's depleted, and obviously you can't lose weight because your body's
like, hey, I'm trying to stay alive, and I understand the weight is not helping, but like I can't let go of all the things right now to help you do that, to make that happen. And so I can see how giving, especially a little human, so many different things, and those vaccines are telling the body to defend, create something to defend, build this immunity to this.
Right, because if anybody doesn't know, which I think most people do understand the fact that vaccines you inject the virus, a tiny, tiny bit of the virus into the body so that it can form antibodies.
So your body can read it and form, so
that if it's ever exposed to that again, it knows how to fight it off.
That's right. So if you're given a little human so many of these different bits of code, to go back and create a plan against. I would imagine some of them, their little bodies get a little haywire, their brain does, and there's your inflammation and there's all the things. So
especially if you have the gene that doesn't allow you to detox.
That's true. And to rid the aftermath
right.
after those, it just hangs out in your body.
Then then pediatricians tell you to add Tylenol for discomfort. They tell you to give your baby Tylenol prior to the appointment. So you're adding a drug
to your filter,
a drug that is known. It is known to deplete
right
the thing your body makes that detoxes it.
Yeah.
Give it all that at once, and you're in is it cytokine? I don't know, the
cytokine storm.
And then you get so much inflammation that you can't fight it off.
That's right. So I can see how spreading these vaccines out would be.
It could be
a good
monumental.
Yes,
it could change things.
Option.
It could change things in a huge way. And if we waited a little bit longer until babies were just a little bit older and a little bit bigger, that would also make a huge difference, in my opinion.
And I think now I haven't actually researched this, so forgive me for pulling a Trump here and just speaking, because I think he said that on his press release. He's like, oh, he won't.
He said RFK wants to be careful with what he says.
Like, but I'm not
so careful with what I say. We know.
So excuse me for jumping off the end here. But I would imagine a lot of that scheduling and packing all of that in has become what it is because so many kids do go to such high concentrated childcare so early. Moms aren't allowed to stay at home anymore.
Right.
And that's another problem. Not that I love my children. Nobody come for me. I love my children, but I'm not a stay-at-home mom. I couldn't do it. I could not be that mom.
There are some that are called for that and some that are not.
I'm like, no, there's not a world that I can think of where like that would be what I would, volunteer for. But either way, used to, mom stayed at home, kids stayed at home longer. They were able to because it didn't take two incomes. It didn't take two incomes just to feed your family.
Right.
And now here we are. So kids are getting shipped off to daycares at 6 weeks old, 8 weeks old. And they have to because mom's got to go back to work. And that's all the maternity leave that they've got. And so they have to cram all these in because I think part of the problem is being so exposed to so many different things so early. And then, so that's why the vaccines are trying to ward off some other things. But it's kind of a mess.
It's a mess. Yeah. And I also think, back when people got these diseases and were dying from these diseases, we were not as clean. I mean, we've become much cleaner.
Well, the water, not Jackson water,
yeah.
but okay.
Not around here.
Not
our water
counties,
is, we know so much more.
Right.
We're so much more educated on so many things. And I don't know how you feel about this, but even if they do all these things and they rework the schedule, I'm still going to stand on the principle that parents should have the right to research these things and then decide what's best for their child. What I've never understood is why there are people who get upset about that, because if you want the vaccine and you get the vaccine, then you're protected, right? From my unvaccinated child. You should be protected. If it works, then you shouldn't mind being around my unvaccinated child.
And I do get that argument. But just to have another point of view, what happens if everybody stops? Then what happens? And I guess that, so that's like the total opposite. It's like, hopefully we would still have some that would carry the burden, I guess, the vaccine burden. I don't know. But, because I do understand, like, okay, your child's not vaccinated. Mine is, so mine's not sick. So mine can't give yours anything. But what happens if...
Well, some of those vaccines should.
Right. But I'm like, so what happens if everybody is just like, okay, well, now nobody's going to vaccinate? Then what would happen? And we don't know. I mean...
We don't know.
We don't know. But it's just something to think about.
Right. No, and I get that. I totally get that. That is a good point. And we got to take our next break. Y'all stay with us. We will be, I think this is a very good, I know it goes by so fast, but I do think this is a very good, really good dialogue and discussion.
It's a conversation.
And, and
everybody's mad here.
Right. And I think that's how it should be.
Right.
I don't know why that's so hard for you people to understand over there in social media world.
Because they're hiding behind their screens.
Their keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll be right back here on the Lindsey Beckham Show with Morgan Charlie. Morgan and I have been talking about vaccines, and we have different opinions, but, like Charlie Kirk taught us to do, we are able to have conversations without screaming and yelling or hating each other at the end of it.
If you're too loud, nobody can hear you. So just jot that note down.
And we both know what it's like to have to deal with attorneys all the time. We were just talking about we both have attorneys for boyfriends. And so we get
that's what we were just talking about off air. It's like, do you ever get in arguments with Sean and he's just like, well, you're not an attorney? And it's like, no, I know, but I have common sense. Like,
I might not be an attorney, but I'm right about this.
Right.
Yeah, but that happens all the time. So I'm glad to know somebody else experiences that. Morgan, you released a episode of your podcast this week, and I wanted you to talk about that study that you talked about in your podcast. I think it's very important that people realize this.
We shifted kind of topics, but this week my episode was about building confidence for yourself, but too in your children, and doing it early so that they can, be successful. But one thing that I've run into dealing with my own children is they're so concerned. And I remember being this way. I remember not wanting to speak out in class, not wanting to raise my hand. Like, good Lord, if the teacher did the popcorn reading thing, full body sweats. Like, I do not look at me.
Do you remember counting how many people it was going to be until so then you could go
figure out my paragraph and I'd still mess it up? I'm like, no way does anybody comprehend what I just read.
Yeah.
No, there's no way they did. So anyways, I remember those feelings. So I know my kids are experiencing it, and obviously we live and we learn. And as we mature, sometime in early college years, probably late high school, early college years, I realized that people just don't care that much about you. And I said that to my oldest son. It kind of blurted out, and I didn't mean it like, obviously I care about my children, family members care about your family, you love people. But when it comes to your peers and things like that, and being worried about what somebody's going to think about you, or what they're going to say about you, they're honestly just not that into you. Like they don't care. And so I was sharing a study. It was done in the 90s, a psychology study, and pretty much they took a group of students and they put them in this just cringe-worthy, loud, obnoxious shirt and sent them out on campus. And then they took, a poll to see, okay, so how many people noticed your shirt? How many people noticed you? And every one of them, the consensus was pretty much they thought about half of the people that they encountered noticed their shirt in some way. Well, once they went back and actually looked at how many people really did notice the shirts, it was 25%. So it was half of what they thought. Mm-hmm. So it was just a simple way to show you, and that's the spotlight effect, that, we think that we're sitting under the spotlight where everybody is just so concerned with what we say and what we're doing.
I think for women, it's bad too. We're always so self-conscious about what we're wearing, or how, like you were even mentioned, how you have your kids dressed. And I think that's a big deal too. We want to make sure that people aren't talking about us, or they're not looking down on us, or that we are up to par. We meet the standards.
But really, they're looking at themselves. They're worried about same thing. Yeah, they're looking at themselves. They're more concerned about
what people are saying about them.
Right. So they're not even worried about you. So just be confident. Like, say what you need to say. If you have a hard conversation, like, have it. Speak up in class. Be somebody's friend. Go talk to them. Start a new friendship. Like it. And that was the conversation with Knight. Was he just was nervous to even talk to anybody?
And it's so difficult for young kids.
What is the worst that can happen, buddy? What is the worst that can happen?
We were saying during the break, like if you only knew how small of a part of your life this is, and what's to come.
Absolutely.
You would feel completely differently. But I mean, obviously they're young and they don't understand that this is all they've ever known. But there's just so much more.
Right.
There's so much more to life. And that's why, like you were saying, it is so sad when we see young people commit suicide because they had.
You're like, you haven't even got to the good part. Yeah. And I wish that, you could see that this little bitty sliver of time is not it. It's not the best. And every dark time, the sun always comes up. So if you're in a dark time now, it's not going to last forever.
Right.
I promise
this too shall pass. And I know people hate to hear that.
It won't.
But it really is true. And I mean, I've been in some pretty dark places. I know you have too. Some pretty dark places. I've had some really unfortunate experiences happen in my life, as I know you have as well. And sometimes it feels that way.
It feels like you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this.
But we ride it's like waves.
Right.
And that's life. So if you are in the middle of a very dark place and dark time, it doesn't last forever. It will pass.
And that's one thing that like I've realized going through the hardest times in my life over the last, like, let's say decade, I guess. Now it's kind of made me a little dangerous, I'd say, like, because I'm like, nobody can hurt me. Like
nobody's gonna put Morgan in a corner.
Like, nobody's putting me in a corner. Like, you taunting me, holding money over my head. Baby, I've been poor before. I ain't worried about that.
I can do it again.
I can do it again. But like, I've never, so far in my life, I have never met a problem that I didn't
haven't overcome.
Yeah,
you've never met a day that you didn't make it through.
Right.
And I love what Erica Kirk said in her speech about the next 15 minutes. Like, I'm going to get through the next 15 minutes, and then the next 15, and then the next 15, until I'm not counting 15-minute intervals anymore.
That's right. Then you're looking at a day, and then you're looking at a week.
Exactly.
And it, and it's going to get better, and it's going to get better, and it's going to get better. And that's when I, dealing with kids, dealing with that. And I feel like a lot of that comes from building their own confidence. If they aren't the kid in the in crowd, making sure that they have the foundation and the self-awareness and self-love that they can stand out here all by themselves. They don't need anybody else.
Right.
And I was never one that just had this huge group of friends. I would see the groups in high school and middle school and everything. And I really, now a lot of those girls talk to me, and they did view us as friends. And maybe that's just my own, me being an introvert. Like, I'm like, oh no, we're not friends. And they're like, yes, we were. I don't know. But
like, well, I don't remember you treating me like a friend.
But laugh. But it's not really a joke. Like, I had like 3 friends, and like 2 of them were like super obligated to be my friends because one was my sister and one was my cousin. like we're blood. You have to be my friend. So it's like, it's okay. And they're still the same people like I had in middle school, the same ones I have today. You don't have to fit into this crowd. You don't have to have the most friends. You just have to be confident in yourself, looking at yourself. Are you a good person?
Yeah.
Then nobody can hurt you, Yeah.
And when days are really dark and really hard and really tough, I think that for us, we don't lose all hope, because our hope is found in Jesus. And that is what sustains us through some really hard times. And
absolutely.
And that's what you need. You need that foundation. We got to take our last break. Y'all stay with us. We'll be right back to wrap things up and pour the rest of it out
right
here. The Lindsey Beckham Show with Morgan Charlie.
Right.
We are back here for the last, 1 minute. It always goes.
I was gonna say, we always have like one little.
I know, one little second left. We have a project we're working on that Morgan's look. Morgan's the most organized. Like, she gets it all together.
Oh, I'm just the most crazy, I think, honestly. But,
but we're gonna talk to you guys about that next week, hopefully. And Morgan, what's going on at Women's Wellness?
Well, we are rolling out our wellness evaluation. So if you are interested in, even if you're just curious about your hormone levels and want to come in, we do offer a wellness evaluation where you come in, get your labs done, and have a follow-up virtual consultation with a provider and just see where you're at. So
somebody commented that I'm glowing, and I was like, that's Women's Wellness.
Yes.
That is what they do. They will help you glow, help you lose weight, help you get healthy.
That's right.
All the things, and they won't even do it with vaccines. They'll do it other ways.
We literally don't have any.
All right. We will see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.